Well, Coach Cal has silenced all his doubters. On this edition of the Hog Central Podcast, we talk about that incredible turnaround and look ahead to that Sweet 16 matchup with Texas Tech.
This is the Hog Central Podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Sullivan.
Welcome to a Sweet 16 edition of the Hog Central Podcast. They are all over the world. Ernie is out west, I think in Las Vegas, and Z is about to leave for San Francisco.
What, are you kidding me? Big boy's in Las Vegas?
Yes, I'm trying to get a ticket, Z, so I can come to San Francisco. Work your magic.
Yeah, we'll get you some tickets. Hit up basketball staff. I'll work it on my end, and make sure you hit up a couple of those friends that we know. I'm not going to say their name on the pod. Make sure you hit up those friends, because they have influence because of, I hate to say it, but they got some influence because of money. Money brings
All right.
power.
Let's talk about that later. Hey, for much of the year on this podcast, we talked about the Hogs making the tournament. Now we're 2 games away from the Final Four. Is this wild?
Well, I tell you what. We talked about it early. This basketball team has all of the makings to be a great team, and they are finally putting it together at the right time. Hey, we had a great draw in the first 2 rounds. We called St. John, who can't shoot. So we matched up with them really well.
Yeah, I like how you say that, Ernie. They didn't shoot it very well, and the Hogs' defense had a lot to do with it. But it's not every day, Sully, that you see a good team. A team that's won 31 ball games, and they, go 21 makes out of 75 shots. And to me, they just didn't get a lot of good looks. They couldn't get their offense was stagnant. They didn't have guards that could just wear you out off the dribble like we thought they could. And St. John's was about driving the basketball all year, and they couldn't drive it against the Razorbacks defense. So number one, the credit's got to go to the Hogs for that defensive effort. Number two, St. John's, hey, you didn't bring it. Yeah. You didn't bring it on this day, and you got smacked. And you're lucky you didn't get smacked worse than you got smacked.
I give Coach Cal credit. He said something on the broadcast early in the game at the first time out. He said, a team that pressures doesn't like getting pressured. And I think our pressure got to them.
No doubt.
Uh-oh, Ernie's frozen up.
He was doing good. He was doing good.
We got the game ugly, and you got to get his basketball team credit. Our athleticism and our longness caused them problems. Their best player couldn't even get to the basket. And you got to give that credit to our basketball team and our coaching staff for exposing them. This basketball team, to me, is having fun. Like Coach Cal said, let's go shock the world. Let's go do something magic. This team has no pressure right now. Nobody expected them to be here. But, hey, we're playing good basketball, and the pieces are finally coming together. I'm excited. I am so excited. Sweet 16 couldn't be no better than this.
Hey, Z, what about the pressure? About a team that is used to pressuring people getting pressured like that?
Yeah, well, I was part of staffs that pressed for years, from high school all the way through my 17 years with Coach Anderson. And we were going to press, but sometimes the press could really impact us, and we would get a little bit frazzled. Not like when we play Louisville press, because you would throw the ball in, they'd kind of pressure you hard, Ernie, and then as soon as you got one pass, you know what they do? They just turn around and run down the floor. To me, that wasn't like a full press. But you're right. We weren't pressing, but that half-court pressure all over them, man-to-man, Sully, you're right on it. They didn't like us. They didn't like Billy. They didn't like Carter. They didn't like DJ. They didn't like Nelly. Out there in their face, pressure, half-court, man-to-man defense bothered them. I'd heard a lot about how they would set really good screens and use the screens to attack. Talking about St. John's. I don't remember a great screen that they were able to set against us all day to really get open. And their best offense was throwing it into Zuby Ejiofor, the transfer from Kansas. How does Kansas let him get away? And Ejiofor only ends up with 12 shots. Yeah. They quit throwing him the basketball. And they couldn't get it to him for part of it because of our length and size. But Ejiofor ends up getting 12 shots. And 2 of those were bad 3-point attempts. It was just good defense. You're talking about a team with 31 wins to shoot that poorly. And they were mad and frustrated. And this isn't to pick on the Big East Player of the Year. Congratulations to him. That's an honor he'll have the rest of his life. R.J. Lewis Jr. But they took him out in the second half. He was so frustrated. First time they taken him out, the coaches all were having to console him and talk to him.
Yeah.
He was that down and frustrated. And the second time they take him out, second half, I'm looking at him. He's got a teammate. They're sitting on the bench, Ernie. A teammate's got his arm around him, just loving on him, talking to him. You know why he was having to do that, right? Because he was very frustrated.
Yeah.
He was very discouraged.
Hey, talk about this too. I thought they tried to play bully ball. I thought they were the team that, especially Ejiofor, and how he didn't foul out. I mean, that guy in that game. But I thought they came in with the mentality that they were going to be the tougher team. They were going to push us around, and I don't think that happened. I think we measured up to their toughness in that game.
You know, I think the SEC, everybody talk about how physical the Big East is, and the Big East is so physical. The SEC is a man league too, but I think the SEC physicality is as good as the Big East. And I think they were surprised at how physical we were and how big and how strong we were. We were so much bigger and dominant. And that's why Lewis, the all Big East player, was frustrated, because normally he gets around and gets layup. They was batting his ball, and when he was get by one defender, the help defender was over. And that's what you want. The SEC is just as physical as the Big East.
Hey, there's nothing against the Big East, but you can tell who spends the money on athletes. I watched Creighton against Auburn, and I watched Arkansas against St. John's. We were not only bigger, and Auburn was bigger than Creighton and more athletic. When you talk about, I think, athletes, it goes like this. The SEC, the Big 12. Big 12, I watched Arizona last night. They're athletic. Houston's athletic. Texas Tech is athletic. I think they're the closest to the SEC. But who spends the big bucks that gets the best athletes? And you look this past weekend, 7 SEC teams. I mean, Iowa State got embarrassed by Ole Miss. I mean, come on. I mean, the SEC is clearly, all the talk was right. The best athletes are playing in the SEC. Used to be just football.
You know, Coach Sully, it's a lot of it's about money now with college basketball, college athletics. It used not to be as much about money. Now it's all money. And so, Ernie, the SEC has the most money mainly because of Southeastern Conference football and the huge TV contracts. Everyone knows the SEC has more money than any other league. The Big Ten being, a relatively close second. We got all this money. And now it's paying off because these 16 schools have invested heavily into spending money on basketball. We're paying players. NIL, now we're going to be paying the maximum you're allowed by NCAA revenue share. You're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. No, that matters because other schools aren't doing that. Other schools aren't doing it. So in the recruiting process, coaches aren't dumb. Coaches in the ACC aren't dumb. Coaches in the Big 12 aren't dumb. They're going to see this great player. They're going to see a Todd Day. They're going to want him. Todd Day's going to go probably where he gets offered the most money. And that's going to be an SEC school now. And so the SEC, I thought the SEC in the first round, Sully, was okay, 8-6.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. That wasn't great. Texas, Georgia, Missouri, Mississippi State, Vandy, OU, they all had losses. I thought we should have had 3 or 4 losses, not 6. But the SEC went to work in that second round. And you talk about going 7-1. 7-1.
Crazy.
In the second round is crazy, with the Aggies being the only team that lost, and they got thoroughly outplayed by Michigan. They hung around a little bit, but Michigan was better than them. And to go 7-1 in the second round, Sully, that's huge.
Hey, nothing against Texas Tech, but I remember my last 2 Elite 8 experiences in seeing Gonzaga and Duke, and then that monster Connecticut. At least this looks winnable, where if you play well, you can beat Texas Tech. And say you get Florida again, the second game never looks like the first game, and this is a totally different Razorback team this second time around. But it looks a lot better, if you're an Arkansas fan, what you have ahead of you than the last 2 times.
We are battle tested. You play in the toughest league in America. You are battle tested. And you're going to be playing Texas Tech team that's, I think they finished 4th in the Big 12. They're a good basketball team, but I just don't think they're the caliber we are. They got a great coach, but I just hope we go ready to play. We can beat Texas Tech. If we shoot the basketball a little bit better, trust me, Texas Tech, is going to guard. They're a lot like Chris Beard, Ole Miss team. Their pedigree is defense first, offense second. So we need to go and play good. They don't have a one big, and he's pretty good, but I don't think he's played against a Jonas Adu or a Trevor in Brazil. So I think the key to winning this basketball game is our bigs.
Yeah, they're bigs now. I watched their game. Toppin is 6'9", about 230. He's their leading scorer and everything. And then Williams is 6'6". He's their second leading guy. They're both big bodies, but they're both very skilled. They're great passers. They're good shooters. Williams shoots the three ball well. I tell you what the key could be is who gets their injured player back. And I think Texas Tech needs their Chance McMillan is their third leading scorer. He's their leading minute guy. He's a 40% three-point shooter. He's 6'5", 6'6". He's out with it's the same thing as Thero. We thought Thero would come back early. This kid has an upper body injury. He's missed 3 games now, and we don't know if he's going to be back. And, whoever gets their guy back may be at the advantage. But I think Texas Tech needs McMillan more in this game than we need Thero.
I think it's hurt their depth a lot without McMillan, and he can shoot. He's a good player. We got to talk to Jay Billis on the Razorback Daily yesterday, and he was talking about that, how good McMillan is. He think that's a huge loss for them, and there's no indications he's going to be back. And even if he does come back, what level is he going to be? And so that helps us that he's hurt. And you hate to say that about injury. Hopefully he gets to come back and play. But Adu, he's really close, it sounds like. And I got my hopes up that he might play Friday when Cal kind of said, hey, this guy may play.
Yeah.
But then Saturday, he wasn't dressed out. He was not able to go on Saturday. But I do think they're and he wants, I think he wants to be back there and play. Most kids do, right, Ernie? He's sitting there seeing all this. He's seeing all this happiness, all this joy, all this elation. But I think that we're probably closer to getting our Razorback back than Texas Tech is getting their hurt guy back, unfortunately for them.
How about this, Ernie? You mentioned Jay Billis. I've heard national guys apologizing now for how they treated Cal and gave up on him. And this ride, the way it's gone down, has been so good for him. The fact that, he goes with that terrible start. And, people thought that was an extension of what happened at the end of the Kentucky run, that the guy had lost his fastball. Then you have these injuries. And no one in the world outside of Coach Z thought there was a chance this team could make this kind of run. And now you got people saying, man, that's a masterful job. I mean, this has worked out so well for Coach in a way that it happened this way.
Coach kept saying, I like this basketball team. We didn't know what he was talking about, but he's at practice with them every day. I almost got into a scuffle at the SEC tournament back on the shuttle on the way to the hotel. I had Arkansas gear on, and they said, you got our leftovers. Kentucky had just got beat 29 points. I said, I'd rather have Coach Cal, y'all leftovers, than Mark Pope right now. And look at what's happening. Both of them are in the Sweet 16. Coach Cal has come to Arkansas and revitalized his career. I think that's why his wife was so emotional, because the way the Kentucky fans did him before they left.
Yeah.
And I think he has done a masterful job of coaching. And guess what? Coach Cal still has that fire in his belly. Hey, I like what he's doing with this basketball team. He's letting them play. And, hey, we're in the Sweet 16, got a chance to go to the Elite Eight, beat Texas Tech, and have a big day with Florida. I'm so excited for the state of Arkansas and the Razorback basketball team. I couldn't be more excited being a former player. We're in the Sweet 16. Every time I turn the TV on, they're talking about Woo Pig too. Nobody picks us to beat St. John. Nobody.
Yeah, that CBS broadcast, they hardly mentioned Arkansas outside of Coach Cal.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Coach Z, we get a reminder, we've come to expect the athleticism from Trevin Brazil. But he made a play. It happened so quickly early in that game that was a reminder that this kid is a out-of-this-world freakish athlete. Off that rebound, when he caught the ball with one hand and just hammered it back, I mean, that's a play that few players can make with that kind of viciousness, throwing it back in. And he did it so easily that you're reminded of what Cal's been saying, and we've seen in his career that this kid is a freakish athlete.
Yeah, we've seen it a bunch, and now I think he's very motivated, and he's got the bright future for him. With all the money in NIL, the better you play, the more money you're gonna get.
Yeah.
He play hard every time, man. You can make yourself millions, and he's already probably made a lot of money. You can make yourself millions of dollars, not even in the pros, right in college. And he looks like a guy motivated to me, and he looks inspired, whatever his inspiration is, and whether it's just the joy of victory or loving with his teammates or getting paid. Because he looks like a guy that's doing stuff that I'm going to get paid on, man. I'm going to work. And that's the way a lot of players are. He looks inspired. He looks a lot better. He's not giving us that all season. He's only giving it to us in spurts, but he's given it to us pretty consistently since about the middle of February. He's been good. All the way, you think about the Missouri game here, February 22nd. He was pretty good. All the way on since then, he's not had any bad games. Jonas Adu, the same way. Trevin can still play more college basketball. Jonas is done.
Yeah.
So this is his last go-round. Nelly, their last chance to go win a national championship. And you can do it. I love the bracket we're in. You were kind of alluding to that a minute ago, Sully.
Yeah.
There's no Duke in front of us that we saw before.
Yeah.
That one year you didn't want to play Baylor or Gonzaga. And sure enough, we were rolling until we ran into Baylor and we got smacked. That UConn team there's nobody like that right now. Even the ones above us in the upper bracket, Auburn, we almost beat them at their place. Yeah. And we didn't have Boogie Flan. Arkansas can beat anybody left out of these 15 teams. Now, whether we can do that, we shall see. But I love the Texas Tech draw. Out of all the teams left, Ernie, I think other than maybe Brigham Young.
Yeah, they look pretty good.
But I would rather probably play Brigham Young. I would rather play Kentucky. Texas Tech's going to be a good team. It's going to be a tough team.
Hey,
but,
Ernie.
It's a game we can win. Winnable game, Sully. Very, very winnable game.
Hey, something that's come up with this team early in the year, scoring. You could pretty much bet on Boogie, Nelly, maybe DJ. And then it went wildly to Brazil and Adu. And then in the biggest game of the year, who would have bet this? If you told us the box score that Carter and Billy had led us in scoring, and we shot like horrendous from the field, and we beat the number 2 seed. But something that concerns me, Ernie, is these guys have done so well at playing their roles, and now you got a lot of love for these 2 freshmen coming to this game. I just hope they have their feet in the ground and don't try to do too much, that they just continue to play their roles. Talk about that.
I told my dad, I said, the only bad thing about the Razorbacks playing good, I wish they would have played. They played Saturday. I wish they would have played on Monday, because you got a chance to go home and think about all of this. We playing good. Sometimes the worst thing you can have is a 4 or 5 day layoff. I just want Billy to continue to play his role, and it's the shots that they're taking. This is what makes this team so dangerous. You got 7 or 8 guys that can beat you at any given night.
Yeah.
We were having 2 guys. Now we got all of them going. So that's what makes us such a dangerous basketball team. And I want Billy to continue to do the dirty work. Carter Knox has stepped up. I thought he was pressing a little bit early in the term, but now they're letting the game come to them. And I like this basketball team. Coach Zeke, give them another pep talk. You may put on you a red coat like Sully and give them a pep talk. I like this team. I'm so excited. I'm just happy for Coach Cal, because when he came over here, all of my Kentucky friends were talking smack. Now, all of a sudden, he has that fire in his belly, and I think he has something to prove. I don't think the Razorbacks are done. I'm saying Texas Tech, we beat Texas Tech. Florida's going to be a tough game, but Florida got the win too. They didn't play.
Yeah, they may lose to Maryland.
They may lose to Maryland. Maryland's a very athletic team.
Yeah, let me say something about that.
Yeah,
so
go.
What I was for, me and you were talking on the phone Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hoping that part of me was hoping Colorado State would win, just because that knocks Maryland out of our bracket. Nothing against Colorado State. But now I kind of like it as I've thought more about it, because now Maryland, I don't think Colorado State would have had to play a phenomenal game to beat Florida. Maybe they did. Maybe they could have. Maryland, does not have to play that. They can just be pretty good. And if Florida doesn't shoot it well, they're going to beat Florida. And that could help us in the long run that Maryland hit that shot and advance, because they could be the one that knock out Florida. It doesn't matter if we don't beat Texas Tech. If you're John Calipari, all you can think about is Texas Tech. But for me and Ernie and Sully, we can think all the way to Auburn and Houston and everybody else we want to talk.
I heard I heard an announcer say, I thought this was good. At the end of winning time in these games, players win your games, not plays. And Billy Richmond, I mean, that baseline jumper, I mean, he looks good every time he shoots it. And he shot it the same way with the game on the line and just pure hit that shot. But that says something when you have a freshman like Queen over there in Maryland took that shot.
Yeah.
That Billy wasn't afraid. Billy didn't drive. He stepped up and hit that 12-foot shot.
I said this the first time I saw the Razorback when they scrimmaged in Pine Bluff. Billy Richmond was my favorite player even that day. I watched his effort even in practice. Billy goes 100% at all times. And kids like that gonna win ball games for you later. Billy squared up. Billy was the man at Memphis Hamilton. He was the man. So, hey, he went back to his Memphis Hamilton. Did you notice he squared his body up perfect? Shoots the basketball with confidence, nothing but nets. I like the kid. I think he's a pro player. I just think Billy gets minutes because Billy affects the game in so many different ways. I think he's just a great, great freshman.
Yeah, taking that shot, Z, talk about that. I mean, that, it wasn't the Scotty Thurman shot, but it's big. When you have the confidence and the game's on the line and you step up and you hit that shot.
Absolutely. It was a huge shot, and things were kind of undecided in that ball game.
Yeah.
White knuckle time, and someone has to make a play, and he made a great cut. He got away from his man, and as Ernie said, he got himself squared up. And he's much better mid-range shooter than he is a three-point shooter. He's only made 2 threes all year. But he makes threes when he's out there. He works on threes. He may make a big three against Texas Tech. And since he made that three against South Carolina in the conference tournament, he's shooting 1 or 2 every game now. And, of course, his minutes have been going up. But I love what Ernie said about seeing how he was in October, the effort that he brought. The guy, I think he could go down as a great 4-year player at Arkansas if he will stay. And there's no reason now in an NIL era of making a lot of money while you're here. This is basically professional sports in college. We know that. I mean, if you're making $1 billion, that's a professional to me. And I think that he's going to have a chance to stay here and make a lot of money and be one of our all-time greats if he sticks around. But he was great against St. John's, and I think he'll be even better against Texas Tech because I'm not sure how athletic they are. I know they play very hard. They got some guys that can shoot. But it's, again, our length, our size, our athletic ability, our quickness, our speed. We should outmatch Texas Tech in all those areas.
They did beat Houston, which is impressive. And they played, I think they split with Arizona. I think the Big 12 is second athletically. The thing that's different than this team than any of the Muss teams is, when you went Muss against Duke, they were towering over us. I had a great feeling 2 minutes into the St. John's game. It seemed like we had an inch or two on every player on that St. John's team.
We're just much bigger.
We were the bigger, more athletic team, and you never know till you see them. It's like a fight. You feel out the first 2 rounds, but you felt pretty good outside of the bull in the china shop there, Ejiofor, how Kansas let him go. Z mentioned it. Him on that Kansas team would have been tough to deal with.
I text David Judkins, who is a dear friend of mine, at the first media timeout of the first half. And I said, we win this basketball game. I think he thought I was crazy. But I was looking at how much bigger and fast and stronger we were. Other than Ejiofor, we just manhandled him. I mean, even a best guard was frustrated at the first media timeout. Yeah. So I knew then we were in their head. I just think I want this basketball team. When you get a team down, we need to bury them.
Yeah.
We have 14 points. We take 2 bad threes. I mean, you got to attack and keep this at this level. When you got a team down, Sully, you got to bury them. Don't give them no chance to come back. And I thought we shot a couple bad threes when we was up 14 points. You got to play smart all the way through this tournament. And not saying you're not going to shoot some bad shots, but I think at 14 points, we have them on the road, shot 2 bad shots. They had 16 fouls at the time. We shooting threes. You got to attack the basket, make the official make some decisions. Give Coach Calipari credit. Great timeouts at great stages of the basketball game. I think he's done a great job with this team of coaching them and coaching them up. And he kept saying, this is the fun team to coach.
Yeah.
And I think he's having fun. I think he's excited. I'm excited. And I can tell. But we got to take care of business against Texas Tech. Texas Tech, to me, is a better team all around than St. John.
There's something I liked, especially late in the game, is DJ Wagner never settled. He was 4 of 16. And how he didn't get to the free throw line in that game, driving the ball as much as he did, but I thought he set the tone that Arkansas down the stretch just kept on hammering, kept on going to the hoop. They seemed to beat them off the dribble often, and I was stunned St. John's didn't play a minute of zone. I mean that could have prevented, some of that drive into the hoop, but they didn't. Yeah. I think he was arrogant. Pitino was.
Thank you.
He was going to play that man to man. No one was going to come in here and do that to us.
Yeah, Sully, did St. John's watch the Arkansas-Kansas game? Because we were rolling through Kansas, and then the zone hurt us. We didn't play as well.
Yeah.
So I kept sitting there thinking the same as you. St. John's is going to go to a 2-3 or maybe a 1-3. Well, they're going to go to a zone here because they couldn't guard. DJ had 8 points and went 4 for 16. It seemed like he had 20 points.
Yeah.
Because he kept blowing right by him. He had these loud plays. No offense to St. John's. You're going to have to try some zone if you're going to beat Arkansas.
Listen, if I'm playing Arkansas, I never would play them man-to-man. I would play them a matchup zone because I got to keep Wagner in front of me. I can't let him be dicing through the defense and slicing and laying the ball. I would play them a matchup and say, if you beat me shooting the basketball, I get on the bus and go home.
How about Boogie Flan, that he has really accepted his role coming off the bench? I don't think he's turned it over since he's returned. And he hit a huge 3 in the first half. He's not shooting the ball extremely well, but what a calming presence he is on the floor. And Boogie defends. He's a great ball defender. And I just think this is the greatest situation that he came in. He sacrificed his ego and said, I'm going to play a role to make this team better.
I like Boogie. Boogie hit a running contact shot right before the buzzer of the first half, which I think was a tone setter for us. I like what Boogie's doing. He's trying to get back into the swing of things. He's a little rusty offensively, but give him credit. For him to be as a big-time player as he is and to play both ends, I really like him. Most guys that can score don't want to play on but one end. Coach Z can tell you that. But Boogie plays both ends of the basket. What about the steal with about 2 minutes left in the game when St. John's calls the timeout and they're going to get the ball to edge it for it? Boogie steals the basketball. You just got to give these kids credit. We are long, we're very athletic, and we cause havoc on the defensive end. That's why we're winning.
Yeah, for sure. Ernie's so right. And I love how you guys said out of these 8 guys that are playing, who's going to be the top 3 scorers against Texas Tech? It's a great thing when you don't really know.
Yes, it is.
It might be DJ. It might be Trevin. It might be Jonas. It might be Nelly. It might be Carter. It might be Billy. You don't know. It might. It's crazy how much balance and depth there is out of 8 guys and maybe 9 guys when Adu Thero comes back.
Everybody's playing with confidence too. You don't see even Trevin hesitate shooting threes. Adu is so decisive when he gets the ball. It seems like everyone is playing with a great deal of confidence. Billy and Carter are not afraid to take their guys to the hoop if they got an opening, and that's a good deal when you got no one looking over their shoulder, that everyone is full go. And that's not the case with a lot of teams even at this point of the game. And you look at St. John's. I mean, think about that. They left the player of the year on the bench. I mean, I don't care. I mean, if my guy is, if Mark's in the NCAA tournament, if Mark Sears is 2 for 20, he's going to put him in the last 2 minutes of that game.
Sure, yeah.
Because in his career, he's won games for Alabama. And you left R.J. Lewis on the bench. You may have ruined him for I don't know what year the kid is.
He may not ever be the same. It'll be tough mentally for him to,
for the biggest moment.
He will.
But, they may never get back to that point. I mean, and they had a chance to make the Sweet 16, and they couldn't score, and they left their best scorer on the bench.
One thing I noticed during that stretch when he wasn't playing good, I thought Rick Pitino should have went down and picked the kid up. But
they don't do a lot of that. They didn't do a lot of that.
He forgot about him. And this guy's carried you all year.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't see no rah-rah saying, okay, Coach Z ain't got it going. Go down there selling, talk to him. It was almost like he was so worried about Arkansas versus you got to pick that kid up. That kid has played great all year. He's due to have one bad game. But for a coach Rick Pitino caliber to turn his back on that kid, I hope all recruits in the country saw that. Because that told me something.
I'll tell you something about that. Michigan State last night, their game was in the balance at the end against New Mexico. Yeah. Jace Richardson, one of their best players, had not scored a point.
Yeah.
He comes up huge at the end of the game. And, he had the ball and, and they said, you go make a play for us. And Richardson made 2 or 3. But that's a great example of Tom Izzo. This kid has done it for me for 12 straight games. He's averaged like 20 points. He hadn't scored a point. And he comes up huge and wins that game against New Mexico.
Yeah. You, as a coach, Coach Z coach, you can't get down on a kid like that. I mean, somebody on that staff, other than his teammates, some coach should have been down there at the timeout, talking to him, trying to pump him up. I didn't see that. You just saw him put him at the end of the bench and say, "You done for the night."
Yeah, I go back to that game. I go back to that game where Billy Richmond had 7 turnovers and Cal still had him in the game.
Correct.
Yeah. Cal coaches in a very positive way. That's been one of the biggest surprises, me being around him.
Yeah,
is that he's so happy with them. He's had some down moments this year. I mean, you can't start 0-5 in the league and everything is he and ha ha. But he never beat them up. He never got too down on him, Sully, and he kept a positive attitude himself. In that, he goes to mass I'm a Catholic. He goes to mass every day. He has a peace about him. We've thought. Or I know I have. I thought we were getting him in his Nick Saban era in his 60s and 70s. Nick Saban did his greatest coaching in his 60s and 70s before he retired. And he won 7 national championships at Alabama. I'm not saying Cal's going to win 7. We'll take 6. But
we'll take 1. I'll take 1.
Hey, but how about the way he's treated both Brazil and Edu? Some of that Vice series after wins and losses. He's always pumping those two up. He's telling Brazil how much better he can be. He's calling Edu the MVP. He has really, it's all about coaching is getting the best out of your players. And we've watched Trevin Brazil be like a mirage. This guy we see that could be great, but hasn't really moved the meter for a couple of years. And boy, talk about changing his legacy, the way he's ended this year. And I think it's part of the reason he's got a coach that believes in him, and is going to stick with him.
I think Trevor Brazil has played his way back in a lot of conversation. I think a lot of people were off the bandwagon.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he has put himself back out there as a pro prospect now because he's attacking. He's doing all the dirty work. He has all of the skills. When I was there for the Razorback reunion, Coach Cal just kept saying, Trevor Brazil is going to do something special. I'm like, he hasn't done nothing all year. And then all of a sudden,
time for him to wake up.
Hey, but talk about that, what Ernie said.
You remember.
That Coach Cal talking him up.
What he was going to do.
Yeah. How much do you think that has played a role that Coach Cal believes in him, Coach Z?
I think it's a big deal. Coach Cal believes in these guys, and he's turned to a very positive line of coaching. and he's positive with all of the players, or at least the 9 players. He stays very positive with them, and he teaches and he coaches and he talks a lot in practice and he instructs, and it's been really good. It's been neat to watch. I think that, when he got here, a lot of people thought 5 years, and I was like, he's 65.
Yeah.
He's going to want to break all the win records, which, because he's been a head coach since he was in his late 20s, he's going to have a chance to shatter all of the wins records. Coach K's, Bill, he's going to be above all those guys. He's going to go down as the winningest. Now, they're not all going to be here.
Yeah.
But the last ones are all going to be here.
Yeah.
The last, and I think we can get to 10, 12 years out of him. I don't know if he can go till he's 80. I think he can go till he's, I think he can go till he's not going to walk away. He loves this too much. As long as he has, God willing, good health, he's going to go till he's 78 or 7. That's just how he's going to do it. This is a basketball lifer. He's not going to walk away at 68 years old. He's only 66 now.
Yeah. Hey,
he's
we're
not
less
going
than
anywhere for a long time.
We're less than a minute. I want to thank you guys. I know, Z, you just had a meeting. You're squeezing us in. And Ernie, you're out there in Las Vegas wanting to have fun. And appreciate you guys. You both bleed red, love the Hogs. And how much fun is this going to be? And I want to thank you guys for joining me on the Hog Central Podcast. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Hog Central Podcast. New episodes drop weekly on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.